students, welcome to Understanding the Personal Philosophy paper. View this lecture before starting the assignment for a better understanding of how to do it. First of all, just like in the previous assignments, you need to get to the right place. So if you're on the course materials page, you'll look in the assignments folder as usual for the major assignments in the course. Once you're in there, you'll see the Personal Philosophy of Education papers folder. Click that and enter the folder. Inside the assignment folder, you'll see two important links. These instructions that I'm about to show you and also the rubric, and then the submission link at the bottom. This is where you submit your final paper once you've completed it. It's also where you will submit any revised paper, by the way. So your paper is due on June 30th and it's worth 15% of your grade. So this assignment builds on the reflection paper. The reflection paper asks you to look back and think about previous experiences, educational experiences in your life. This one asks you to go forward and incorporate those experiences and other things to come up with what you think your philosophy about education itself should be. How do you go about do that? Well, step one, you've already done. Think about your own approach and experiences in education. Make a list of all the things that are important to you as a student and to you as a teacher or future teacher. So you might, for example, do you think it's important to teach students how to be socially responsible? Do you think it's important to teach them how to be creative? Do you think it's important to teach them to find themselves? Do you think it's important to teach them the skills that they'll need to be productive members of society to get a job? Consider why you think these elements are important. And of course, look back at your reflection paper as a guide. What will you do then to ensure that these important factors are present in your classroom? So if you think, for example, that teaching social justice is important to students in addition to math, then you might think about, okay, well, how could I use my classroom time to teach a little bit about social justice? The next thing you have to do is understand the four important philosophies or theories that you see in front of you: perennialism, essentialism, progressivism, reconstructivism, or critical theory. Some educational theorists separate reconstructivism and critical theory into two separate theories, and that's fine if you want to do that. For the purposes of this assignment, you may treat them as one. So on the website, on the course materials page, there's some more resources for the philosophical foundations of education. That's in a folder. So you can look through there, you can look through the materials this week, and you should familiarize yourself with all of these philosophies/theories. And then think about which two most closely match your own beliefs, the beliefs that you reflected on in step one. Are you more an essentialist? Are you a progressivist? Think about which of two theories and why. You can, of course, also go out onto the web and search on these and other theories. But if you're going to use another theory or philosophy other than these four, please email me. Once you do this, you're going to organize and write your paper. Your paper should have a certain outline to it. First of all, the presentation and explanation of the two philosophies that most closely match your belief. You may choose more than two, but I discourage it because thinking tends to get muddled if you do more than two. Give me a rationale. Explain why these align with your personality and systems of belief. So if you are very aware of social injustice, for example, and that fits in with your personality and your belief system, because of your own previous experiences, perhaps as a member of a marginalized group or as a member of a marginalized group, gender, for example, Talk about that. Why do these things match you in particular? C is how will you implement your philosophy in the classroom in terms of instructional strategies, use of technology, types of discipline, interactions with students, role of collaboration, respectful rapport, and more. In other words, if you believe, for example, in progressivism, and you believe that social justice is an important thing to teach students, how will you implement that in terms of strategies? Remember to include an APA section titled References. You should have some references and citations throughout your paper. You need to have at least one or more sources that you use. These references may be the articles and things provided in the folders, or you may go out on the web. Once you've written your paper, please, please, please proof your paper. By now you're familiar with the 12 little rules of APA because we had an assignment on it. That makes a really good thing to march through your paper and say, have I followed all these rules? And then submit your paper to the link in the assignments folder that we saw before. Just a note, this paper will be put through a system called Safe Assign that checks for plagiarism. So make sure this is your own work. It may be revised and resubmitted up to a week after it is graded per the class policy. It may also be submitted up to a week late for a 10% point penalty. After a week, it will no longer be accepted. I've also included the grading rubric in the same set of instructions, so please have this out with you and check it over as you're writing your paper, and then grade your paper at the end using the rubric. See how you would score your own paper. As you can see, you can just step through each of the rows and see how many points each criterion is worth. As I said, this assignment may be revised up to a week after it's graded or submitted late. If you're going to revise and resubmit, just simply use the same link that was provided in the assignments folder. That's it, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email me.